What's up, everybody? Joe White here, and I am here today to talk about The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1. It is called Future Days. And, I gotta tell you guys, I, uh, I've been playing through the game, The Last of Us Part 2. And, I kind of call it hate playing because I really do like the game, but um I really don't like the game at all. Just because of the way they did Abby. There were so many different places they could have went as far as, not having her be some jacked up butch looking thing and giving her the best weapons in the game. Like I just got to the point where she gets a flamethrower for crying out loud. And it's just like, come on. Come on. Really? A flamethrower? Abby gets this little bitty, right hunting rifle, and we get a flamethrower with the jacked up butch looking thing. So anyway, this episode picks up right where season 1 left off, with Joel swearing to Ellie about the fireflies and about how there was no cure, and he says all of it's true. And Ellie says okay, and they walk towards Jackson, Wyoming, which is where um Joel's brother Tommy and his wife Maria, they all live there. It's a big huge settlement. And then we cut immediately, and I gotta be honest, me and my son, my 15-year-old son, we were really marking out over this because it's like, we could not believe that they were really starting off with Abby in this. And Abby already, Caitlin Dever, looks already 10 times better than Abby does in the video game. She's not as jacked up. She's not as butch. She's not as muscular. And it just doesn't look right. In the game, Abby's appearance does not look right. Even when they cut to flashbacks of a young Abby, she's jacked up and has a manly looking face. It's just it is what it is. Anyway, we cut back to Salt Lake City and we see Abby burying her dad. And people are wondering who is Abby's dad, and I don't think they revealed it here. Um they're mourning Joel's attack on the hospital, and Owen steps in, who is played by Spencer Lord. Now, I will tell you this. I don't like the look of Owen. Owen's not supposed to have a beard. Owen's not supposed to look like that. That's not Owen from the game, but I have to keep telling myself this is a TV adaptation, and they are allowed, because Neil Druckmann is a creative mind in this. Maybe they're doing things not the way the video game would do. Maybe this is the way he wanted to do it all along. I don't know. But all these guys are gathering around Abby. Abby's burying her father, and Abby is basically going to track Joel down. But Owen tells them that they have a group in Seattle that can help them. Maybe we go there for a couple years. We get trained. We get stronger. And then we can go after Joel. And she vows to kill Joel slowly. Now, they better make good on this promise later on in the season, because, spoiler alert, Joel dies in the video game. And that's the big event that everybody's waiting on in this. How are they going to do it differently? You can't do that death the same way you did in the video game. Nobody wanted it in the first place. But they went ahead and did it. So now it's like, okay, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this? And it better be suspenseful, and it better have a little bit of build to it, much like when, season 6 of Walking Dead ended on that cliffhanger of someone died. And then the very next episode, I think it was season 7, that whole episode was, okay, who's going to die? And when the death did happen, when both deaths happened, it was pretty intense. And that's the kind of intensity I want to see in this season of The Last of Us. We then cut to 5 years later, and Ellie and Joel, they're living in Jackson, but something's not right with their relationship. And basically, we then, Bella Ramsey has said on multiple interviews she trained him jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and a lot of combat training to get ready for this season. And that was evident here because Abby's in training, but Jesse is there, and we see Jesse, and Jesse basically has ordered this guy to pull his punches. He says Joel is he's fearful of Joel's retaliation, basically, if Ellie gets hurt while she's training. But Ellie's demanding equal treatment. She's like, "Don't pull your punches on me." You know, nobody else out there is going to pull their punches, and I thought that was a good, little piece of writing there. And then we cut to Joel's brother Tommy is taking Ellie off on patrol, and he takes her off to teach her how to shoot with a long scope with a rifle, which that scene takes place way later in the video game than this. And he says Joel wants you taken off the patrols, but Ellie again is demanding equal treatment. And Ellie basically tells Tommy, "You're not putting me up on the freaking boring ass fence. I'm going out on patrols." So they go off on a patrol, the Alpine Patrol, and we meet Kat, who is played by Noah Lamena. Okay. And then, Kat is pretty much, we get the hint that her and Ellie had something together, but that no longer exists because we see Dina taking off with Abby, and they go into the supermarket while they're on patrol, and they encounter a new type of enemy, which is what we know as the Stalkers from the video game. Also, we see Joel has been, basically he's a real integral part of the town. He's helping build the town. He's wanting to expand it. He warns them, "We can't take everybody who comes through. We're just running out of room." And Maria's like, "Gotta find room for him. Build everything quicker." We also see a scene where they're uncovering and trying to cover, go through some of the pipes that were underneath Jackson, Wyoming, and a lot of them look to have roots in them. We basically then, learn later that those are not roots in those pipes. It's cordyceps. Now, one big thing here that you have to realize with this virus, compared to any other zombie thing you've really ever seen, is that this is spread as a fungus. It's airborne. Whenever they have or go near any kind of spores of this stuff, they have to wear gas masks in the game. And I believe that was portrayed like that in season 1 as well. So at the end of the episode, the very end of the episode, we see this busted open pipe, and we see this virus, this fungus, this cordyceps coming through the pipes and leaking its pollen or its spores into the air. And not only does it infect people, but it also attracts nearby infected. We can't call these guys zombies. They're infected. They're not dead that have risen from the dead. That's a zombie. These are not zombies. They're infected. So one thing that really kind of bugged me also about this episode was we cut to the scene in the grocery store. And some of the reviews I had read have basically said that in contrast to the video game, in the video game, we cut to here we are 4 years later. And in the video game, Ellie is a lot more grown up. Ellie is a lot more, she's 19 in the video game. She's 19 here. But I did not get the sense that Ellie was 19 years old because she's behaving the way they got her written and the way Bella Ramsey plays her. She's very much, I thought maybe 16 or 17, not 19. She's not mature at all in this show. The only comment that kind of miffed me was they're waiting to go into the grocery store, her and Dina, to investigate the infected that are in there. And they're waiting to go in, and Dina's kind of hesitant. And Ellie looks at her and goes, "What are you waiting for the men to come along and do it?" And I'm just like, really? Really? That's not, I don't get the impression that that's anything Ellie would ever say. Her character in the video game would never say that. I don't get the impression that her character here, it just felt very forced. The line itself felt very forced. So they clear out the supermarket. They tell the town council about this new type of infected. Also, Ellie gets bitten by one of these infected, by this stalker. And then she has to go cut herself later on to cover it up because she doesn't want anybody else to find out that she's been bitten. Because they don't want anybody else to find out that she's immune. Because if they find out she's immune, they're going to want to do the surgery that they wanted to do in the last season. They're going to want to kill her to find a cure. Anyway, we cut later to a New Year's Eve celebration, and basically there's this guy Seth. Dina and Ellie are dancing. They end up kissing, which Seth then proceeds to, I won't say the word that he calls them, but it's a homophobic slur. Ellie turns around to pretty much stand up for herself, and Joel ends up stepping in and attacking Seth. And this sets Ellie off because Ellie's like, I don't need your help. You know, as much as you think I'm your daughter, I'm not your daughter. And that leads me to the overall, probably one of my favorite scenes in this show, in this episode, was Catherine O'Hara as Gail playing therapist. Well, she used to be a therapist, but Joel is going to therapy because he doesn't know how to be a dad. His daughter never got to this age, so he's finding it really hard to, how do I be a dad figure to this person, but yet I'm not her dad, and she's not accepting what I'm saying, and she doesn't want to, talk about it, and we'll find out later on why. But I just thought Catherine O'Hara did a really good job here. We also find out that Catherine O'Hara's husband, Eugene, who is briefly mentioned in the video game, that Joel killed Catherine O'Hara's husband. Now I think we're going to get an entire episode, or at least a good chunk of an episode, dedicated to Eugene. Eugene is being played by Joey Pants, Joe Pantoliano. If you ever watched The Fugitive, you know who he is. The Sopranos, you know who he is from The Sopranos. He does a really good job. He's a really good actor. Nick Offerman won a Emmy for his little guest appearance, his little guest episode. Maybe we'll see that here with Joey Pants. Maybe he could give us that type of performance playing Eugene. Who knows? But I do think we're going to get, a little bit of a story behind Eugene and why he was shot and killed by Joel. So I look forward to seeing that. So anyway, after the dance, after the New Year's Eve dance, Joel has put some new strings on Ellie's guitar, because the one big thing in the video games is he does teach her how to play guitar. And she comes home, he's playing the guitar on the porch. She just looks at him and walks away. She wants nothing to do with this guy right now, at all. If anything, I get the feeling that Joel is a burden to her. And then we cut, to the pipe, as I mentioned before, and the fungus growing out of it. They do such a good job with that fungus, by the way. There's a scene where the new stalker, you look at their nose, which is missing, and all you see is this cordyceps fungus growing out of their nose. Like, literally, you see it in real time coming out of their nose. It was excellent. So we cut to the cordyceps coming out of the pipes, and then we go to a mountain overlooking the town of Jackson, and Abby is there. Abby and her crew have arrived to kill Joel. They know Joel is there, so we may be getting the big moment. A lot of people were saying that it was going to come at the end of this season. A lot of people are saying that no, they're going to do it at the beginning like they should. I don't know. I don't think we'll see the actual blow, the actual death blow until later on in the season. But who knows what they're going to do? Who knows? Me and my son we were laughing at a lot of things, like the employee of the month in the grocery store being the dog that's taken directly out of the video game. We both made the same comment of they're doing things the same, but they're doing them in a different order at the same time. It's like things are changed, things are different, but they're still in line with what the video game portrays. I thought this episode was awesome. I really did enjoy it. I can't wait for episode 2 next weekend. Although this whole week is big for me. It's huge. It's busy with WrestleMania weekend. Man, a lot of wrestling going on. A lot of wrestling. Anyway, that's going to do it for me in this episode of The Last of Us Part 2, Future Days. On to episode 2 next week. Curious to see what's going to happen. I'm curious to see what's going to happen, because that death in that video game takes place probably within the first 5 hours, I would say. If not more. Or if not less, maybe the first 2 hours of the game, depending on how fast you want to play it. So, anyway, let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments below, and we'll see you down the road.